people will be like, okay, is it okay if I touch your hair? Then I just read their intentions. So I'm like, no.
Hi, welcome to the Black Experience Japan's Melanated Files. My name is Ranzo, and the purpose of this series is to highlight the Black people living in Japan. Who are they? We share their stories. Remember to find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at the Black Experience Japan, and subscribe to this channel for weekly videos on the Black Experience in Japan. Let's get into the interview.
My name is Brandon Chin. I was born in the US, in Florida, and my parents are Jamaican and Chinese. So when I was younger, I took 8 years of karate with a Japanese sensei from Okinawa, and I think I got brainwashed a little bit, in a good way. So I learned a lot about the hard work and discipline under this sensei, and during university, I took the opportunity to go to Japan with a volunteer program called WOOFs, or Worldwide Opportunities on Organic Farms. And basically you just work a few hours per day, you get to live with Japanese families and entrepreneurs, and usually on farms or something related to sustainability. And I got a real good look at life in the countryside in Japan. I've lived here a total of 4 years. The first time I came was 2011. Currently I'm living in Fukuoka. And it's funny, the other day I realized that the first place that I stayed in Fukuoka was actually the city that I'm living in now. So it's like a full circle coming around. I'm a novelist, but my day job is ALT. And I moved to Fukuoka specifically to start a business because they have visas for foreign entrepreneurs. So one more year of ALT work while I continue to write novels. And I plan on opening a business here. I have a small business in the US, it's just myself, but for my book specifically. And I actually have a book for you guys watching today, so at the end I'll tell you where you can get that. I take one piece of Japanese culture and combine it with a big social problem that I'm really interested in learning about. So, for example, one book that I wrote was about the Nanking Massacre, where I don't know if you know, but the Japanese military in World War II went to China and the then capital, Nanking, and basically killed a bunch of civilians in grotesque ways that even put off the German Nazis. Like, they were surprised at how bad it was. So in Japan, the government hasn't officially apologized. They've paid reparations and stuff, but the victims still want an official apology from the government. But I take that type of subject matter and I made it into like alternative history so that I could learn about it first and foremost, but also make it a story of empowerment and, you know, tell other people about these type of things that I'm learning in Japan. My Black experience in Japan, I think it's very varied. It's not just one thing. It's not. Many people have said that you don't really experience overt racism as you would in the West. It's not hatred for you as a human being. It's more just like you're an outsider. You're not in the group, so they don't know how to deal with you or interact with you. And so you get the typical like touching your hair out of nowhere, just hands coming, no words. And just questions like, do you have a big penis? Are you fast? Can you jump high? You know, the typical things you would get. But if you use it as a teaching moment, like an opportunity to actually educate them, then it's fine. There's no deep-seated hatred for you as a human. I agree. I do think that now there's not really an excuse for you not to know. There's a very popular video on YouTube actually about foreigners speaking Japanese, and when they speak to a Japanese person, they act as if they don't know. And part of that's because they're reacting to you as a foreigner, like just seeing you is startling. And so they use that image, and in their head they said, this is an alien. They cannot speak my language. So whatever you're saying, they block out and they start to panic inside and they start to speak English. But like you said, the internet with all of these different ways to know about people outside of your culture Why are they still acting like this? And really, I still think it's because there's such a strong group mentality. Even though more foreigners are appearing in Japan, even in Osaka, people still stay insular. They're locked inside the group. So you have to understand that Japanese people, from when they're young, it's beat into their mentality that you are one member of this group. And if you stick out, you will be hammered down. You have to contribute to the harmony, otherwise you can get kicked out of the social group. So even if there's foreigners around you, even if you see YouTube videos of foreigners and stuff like that, your mind is not open to accepting them. Interesting. The funniest thing that I've experienced as a black person in Japan, the hair thing really gets me. Because, okay, so some of the kids that I teach in Fukuoka, they will really ask, they're very curious about touching my hair. And so first, I always say, if they reach out and don't ask, and this is not just kids, adults as well, I will stop them and say, please ask me before you touch my hair. This is not a zoo. And some people will be like, okay, is it okay if I touch your hair? Then I just read their intentions. I'm like, no, it's not. But if they're really curious, if it's just innocent curiosity, then I will allow them. But some people become surprised. Like, they're really curious, and then they touch it, and then they're like, oh my God, it's hard. And like they get like frightened. And I mean, that's like the funniest thing that I've experienced in Japan. Favorite Japanese food is katsuo no tataki. So it's basically this, it's called bonito, or it's like a shipjack tuna, I think it's called. But it's basically raw, and then you sear it on the outside. So it's like cooked on the outside, but raw on the inside. And you put some green onion or negi, and you just eat it. Actually, if you come to Japan, I recommend going to Shikoku and going to Kochiken. There, this is like their main thing, katsuo no tataki. And you can cook it in the restaurant. They have fire with straw, and you just have a stick with your fish, and you just sear it, and you eat it, and you're gone. We're gone. My first experience in here in Japan was different than most. I think most people, and this is not to judge anybody, everybody has different interests in coming to Japan. But my first experience was through karate. And so martial arts was mostly about building character, starting on the inside and using it to become a better person. Other people have different interests, whether that's anime, manga, samurai, I don't know, maybe they ate a California roll and they became really interested in Japan, and that's fine. The only thing is, when they come to Japan, some people stay on the surface and just go to spots like this, like the Giriko sign behind me, and they'll just take a selfie, worry about how it looks on social media, and they're good. They go home and say, oh, how was Japan? Oh, you can see it in my pictures. It was great. I went to all the tourist spots and whatever. That's okay. For me, I started out in the countryside. I was living in Japanese families, most of whom didn't speak English, working on the farms alongside them, helping them build their businesses. So I had a much different experience stepping in the shoes of Japanese people. And it helped me actually learn more about their culture in a deeper way. I think the biggest thing I've learned since coming here is learning to listen to the things around me, the environment, and also to myself. And I learned that a lot from being around Japanese people. I think in the West, we spend a lot of time talking rather than listening. And in Japan, they have the read the air when you're speaking with people, kuki o yomu. And it was something that really helped me develop my communication skills, as well as just learn to move when you're traveling, learn to move in a different way. But I really recommend, if you come to Japan, go beyond the surface. Yeah, that's fine. Go to tourist spots, take pictures, take selfies. Like, you're gonna do that anyway. But do your best to first, before you come, pick up some Japanese. There's an app called Satori Reader, free. It has plenty of articles and stuff for you to check that out. Then when you come, try to find locals that will share their daily lives with you. Even if they want to take you to like some festival or like an art show. I was just talking to Ranzo about rakugo or no theater. Like, rakugo is about storytelling, and no theater is a performance with masks. But beyond even that, the daily lives of people, I think touching that helps you get deeper into the culture. What do I like the most about Japan? I like the sensitivity. So it's a real, I mean, you've heard it, attention to detail, but I think it goes beyond that. It's always wondering about the other person's feelings. So in whatever you do, whether it's the way you're standing next to them, the way you approach them, like you'll even see, like if you're in a restaurant or something, and the way that in the good places, the way that the waiter or the waitress approaches you is not directly coming at you, so as not to seem confrontational. They come out in a roundabout way. And also what they say to you. This is why a lot of people say Japanese people speak they call it tomashi, it's like roundabout way. They don't speak frankly because they're always wondering, is this going to offend them? I don't subscribe to the fact that I think you allow people to offend you. You choose to be offended by whatever words come your way. But it's good to know, to understand, and be compassionate about the other person's stance, so as, you know, to have genuine communication with them, so as not to come off offensive. But in Japan, they're very sensitive to the other person's position, and I like this. What do I like the least about Japan is the lack of courage. Lack of courage to stand out of the group, do something different, follow your heart, follow your dreams, because what the group will say. It's always wondering, what will people think about me? And so even if you see something wrong, you don't have enough courage to call it out and say, no, stop. You shouldn't do that. Because the group is going one way, you follow that way. Otherwise you risk getting kicked out of the group, metaphorically. If the world was listening right now, the one thing I would say is, know thyself, know thy beast. You have to know what's going on inside before you can do anything else. I mean, they say you can only give what you give to yourself. And so if you're not treating yourself properly, then your relationships will suffer, business will suffer, your work, your life will not be, it will either be miserable or it won't reach the potential that you could reach because you're not looking inward. I think too often we're scrolling, we're looking at everybody's highlight reel, what everybody else is doing, and comparing ourselves, but really going inward and comparing yourself to yourself yesterday or time before that is the proper way to move forward, I think. So there's this book called the I Ching. It's a really old book. They say like the old philosophers of Chinese history, like Lao Tzu and Confucius, contributed to this book. China says it's the oldest book in history, but who knows? It's like 3,000 years old. It's called the Book of Changes. And in it, Confucius talks about act according to the situation, to the time and place. So it's always changing your behavior according to where you are. And I feel like that's one of my strengths, is the ability to adapt. And maybe that's because of my Jamaican Chinese background. Like I'm mixed. So growing up in the US, I was surrounded by people of all different ethnicities, and I had to learn to, while respecting myself, also learn how to deal with different people. And wherever you go, if you come to Japan, if you're traveling somewhere else, learn to first, like Bruce Lee says, empty your cup so that you can receive whatever there is to receive in that country. And that's learning to adapt. Any advice for Black people coming to Japan? Stay open, adapt. Don't stay in the places where they only speak English. I say, try your best to cut off media and influences from people around you that are telling you how to be in Japan. Like, as much as advice as I can give you, go meet Japanese people, talk to them, learn the language. When you're on YouTube, look for Japanese content. Instagram, Japanese content. If you're trying to enjoy yourself in Japan. Otherwise, you're gonna take, for example, my opinion or some other Japanese vlogger, and your opinion's gonna be colored before you come. You want to know what Japanese people are actually thinking or how they're behaving. That way you can actually learn to move better. Dating overall, I think, like I said before, try to understand where they're coming from. Some Japanese women just want to be with the foreigner to either learn English, or the ones that go deep want the visa, right? Or wherever you're from. But if you're gonna just be dating to understand more Japanese culture, I think find someone that doesn't speak English, which means your Japanese has to be good, and do your best to, while keeping true to yourself, do your best to adapt to the culture and understand what Japanese women expect from Japanese men. But don't lose yourself. Don't erase your identity in the process. So I've been studying Japanese for 6 years now. I would say I'm conversationally fluent, but I'm aiming for native fluency. And to me, that means that if you close your eyes and you heard me speak, you would think I'm Japanese. But I still make plenty of mistakes, and sometimes my accent gets off. But I can have conversations and connect with locals. So my advice, if you're learning Japanese, is if you're a beginner, complete beginner, like I said, do your best to surround yourself with as much Japanese content as possible. Try to find Japanese comedy, dramas, even anime without subtitles, and just listen and try to see what it's doing in the content. But of course you need grammar and stuff like that. So Tai Kim's grammar guide is free, that's really good. And Satori Reader, the app that I mentioned before, will keep you going. It's an SRS app. For people that have been learning Japanese and have hit a block and they want to start again to refresh, I recommend finding a language partner that you can speak to online regularly. Hire a Japanese language teacher, not a language partner. One of the sites I used was Italki throughout my journey, and I went through a bunch of different teachers, but once you find somebody that you can connect with and have a good relationship with, and that challenges you, right? Some of these teachers just want, they're fine with you being free conversation, and they don't push you. Find someone that is gonna keep you motivated, but also challenge you. And speak to them once a week, twice a week, so that you always have a fire under your ass, so you move forward. That's my recommendations. You can go to if you're interested in getting more Japanese culture in your hands, I want to act as the bridge for you. So my novels serve that purpose as well. You can go to www.brandonchin.net/raw. And if you want, I have a free book for you actually. It's an ebook. It's about my experience in Fukuoka, living there, and the blockchain. I'm writing about the blockchain now. So you can go to www.brandonchin.net/block, BLOCK, enter your email address there and I'll send you the book in your inbox.
Thank you so much for watching. If you or someone you know would like to be featured, send us a message through our Facebook page or Instagram at the BlackXJP or via our website, blackxjp.com. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.